Good day students, and welcome to today's lockdown lesson for Labour Relations N6, where we are now going to move into the second procedure which we are going to cover in this module known as retrenchments, afleggings. Nou hierdie is die minder lekker deel van menslike hulpbronne waar ons sommige kere vir die werkers baie slegte nuus moet gee, veral in 'n ekonomie soos wat ons nou is, waar ons voorspel dat in die toekoms baie afleggings gaan wees en baie werksverliese gaan wees as gevolg van die resessie en natuurlik baie ander faktore soos onder andere die COVID-19 infeksies wat direk deur die land trek op hierdie stadium. But I want you to follow with me on page 107, where we are now going to start looking at what retrenchment is and how we can actually use this as a communication procedure to communicate downward with our employees within the business. According to the textbook, retrenchment is also known as downsizing and is included as a chapter in the Labour Relations Act. So die wetgewing op hierdie stadium praat ook oor afleggings en hulle sê dat dit baie te doen met die ekonomiese toestand van die land en natuurlik die finansiële stabiliteit van die besigheid. Now consider this for a minute. You own a business and you are currently in a situation where you are financially stuck. The economy is in recession, you have a lot of employees to pay, but you're not receiving any income or you're not making profit. Wat gaan jy doen? Gaan jy eerder maar aangeploeter en eventually later bankrot verklaar word en jou besigheid toemaak? Or are you going to consider retrenching some individuals so you can still remain afloat in the industry and your business can survive? It's a very difficult decision and ek dink veral in 'n situasie soos vandag is dit regtig baie moeilik om so 'n besluit te neem. But most organizations in a situation like this would rather opt for retrenchments than going bankrupt completely. Jy moet ook onthou, 1 of 2 mense mag dalk afgelê word teenoor 'n hele besigheid te maak en baie meer mense wat hulle inkomste verloor. And it is for something that takes considerable consideration and has to be consulted with the unions or the workplace forums before it can be implemented. Die handboek gaan verder. When companies experience a low demand for their products and services, they are financially in this stuck position and they will have to make a very difficult decision. Nou as jy gaan kyk op bladsy 108 aan die boek, kan gee hulle vir jou 3 verskillende konsepte. Die eerste konsep is retrenchment, then they talk about redundancy and then they also talk about layoffs, and it's very important that you know the difference between these 3 concepts. The first one, retrenchments, is when you terminate the services of the employee because of economic viability of the business. Met ander woorde, die besigheid se voortbestaan gaan afhang van hierdie besluit. So jy lê mense af vir permanent of vir 'n spesifieke tydperk om jou besigheid kans te gee om weer sterker te word en om te oorleef in 'n spesifieke situasie. And the main purpose here is to cut labor costs. Onthou die grootste uitgawe vir enige besigheid is hulle personeel. Okay, want dit is nie net jou salaris nie, dis jou insentiewe, dis jou byvoordele. Dit is natuurlik die ure wat hulle moet spandeer. So it is an exceptional cost to the business and they have to make that decision. Sometimes when someone is retrenched, the business offers them the opportunity to come back when the business starts to recover. So hulle kan vir jou sê, alright, ek retrench jou nou, maar as die besigheid begin verbeter of hulle begin in 'n beter finansiële posisie kom, kan ons jou weer die geleentheid gee om by ons te kom werk, as jy dan in daai tyd nog nie werk het nie. Goed, so that's retrenchment. Then they talk about redundancy, and this is when a situation when an employee is no longer necessary or their position is no longer necessary. Kom ons vat byvoorbeeld die ou tydse filing clerks waar jy papiere moet fisies in 'n leer gaan sit en dit gaan uithaal. In vandag se tyd is dit nie nodig nie. Baie besighede gebruik 'n stelsel, 'n online stelsel soos 'n HRIS, where they can load the information and with a push of a button they can access that information. So in sulke gevalle is jou filing clerk nie meer nodig nie en word hulle redundant verklaar en kom hulle posisie dan tot 'n einde. In most situations, however, the business will try to accommodate that individual in an alternative position before they just lay off them permanently from the business. Die derde konsep daar is layoffs. A layoff is a temporary stoppage without pay of employment, and this is especially true in a seasonal product or seisonale besigheid. Byvoorbeeld Kersfees, versierings, of in the Northern Cape we talk about the harvesting season when they start harvesting grapes. Dit is gewoonlik net vir 2 of 3 maande. Jy word betaal vir daai 2 of 3 maande en daarna is jou diens eers nie meer nodig nie tot en met die volgende oesseisoen. Okay, so that's the three concepts, and you need to understand the difference between them. So at the bottom of page 108, they talk about the circumstances that lead to retrenchments. They give you 5, and the first one is the economic considerations. If I look at our current situation, once again, our economy is in recession. We've just been downgraded by Moody's, so getting loans will be more expensive for the country. Met die COVID virus wat besighede vir 21 dae toe is daar nie inkomste nie en kan dit regtig lei tot baie besighede wat toemaak en baie mense wat hulle werk gaan verloor. So that's the first reason for retrenchments. The second one is when there's increased competition. So when you're in a market that is extremely competitive en ewe skielik kom daar 'n nuwe besigheid in en hulle vat baie van jou verkope en die besigheid trek finansiëel swaar, they can also consider retrenchments just until they are back on their feet. Relocation of the enterprise, when you, for example, move your premises from Harrismith to Johannesburg, you cannot always take your employees with you, want die kostes daaraan verbonde is nogal hoog en jy kan ook nie van hulle verwag om agter jou aan te trek op hulle eie onkoste nie, dan word daardie werknemers dan nou afgelê tot verdere werknemers aangestel word. Also with technological development and mechanization, it is the reality that we are entering the 4th industrial revolution where machinery and equipment and factories are taking over the jobs of employees. As mens net gaan kyk na die banksektor deesdae, we have online banking which is done through technology. Mens kan deesdae jou geld gaan deponeer by 'n ATM. Jy hoef nie in te gaan by 'n bank nie. I've also shared with you examples of Pick n Pay that now has a self-help tool. So as a customer kan jy jou eie produkte gaan scan en jou eie produkte verpak en self betaal. Even at McDonald's, you can now, especially the bigger McDonald's stores in the cities, you can go to a machine and order your own products and pay your own food and just collect it from another side. So tegnologie kan begin om mense se werk te vat, and this will then have an influence on future employment. Die laaste oorsaak van retrenchment is dat takeovers and mergers, is when a business merges with another or when one business takes over another. This can lead to job losses in that specific business as well. Very important, what are the guidelines for fair retrenchment? Hulle gee vir jou riglyne aan die onderkant. Die eerste een, areas of negotiation do not refer to the individual workers but rather to positions. En dis bitter belangrik. Wanneer iemand afgelê word, is dit nie hulle as persoon wat afgelê word, but rather their position that is being retrenched, because the business does not see the need for continuation of that particular position. It's just unfortunate that they fill that position at that particular time. Usually, management will try and retrench employees on the basis of their degree of skill and how much they work and their disciplinary record and al daai dinge. So hulle kyk na jou hele profile in die besigheid. They also need to consult with the unions, en in baie gevalle sal Unie sê last in first out. So jou werkers wat nou nie in gekom het, sal hulle eers laat gaan teenoor jou werkers wat al redelik lank daar is. And also they need to make sure that it is fair, must be procedurally fair. You have to follow the procedure and you have to have fair evidence as to how you chose which positions are being retrenched than others. Verder sê hulle ook in die Labour Relations Act, retrenchments are dealt with under the section 189 en dit moet 100% volgens die boek gedoen word om seker te maak dat dit wettig is. Now, as a business, you have a responsibility to disclose information to your employees and you have to disclose information to your trade union. So, wat inligting moet jy aan jou werknemers gee? Jy moet gee vir die redes vir aflegging. Please explain to them what is the reason why we are going into retrenchment and also which alternatives you considered before entering the process of retrenchment. Jy moet ook gaan kyk na hoeveel werkers of hoeveel poste word geaffekteer en wat is die metode wat jy gaan gebruik om hierdie poste te identifiseer. So it's not just the number of employees or positions affected, but what method did you follow to choose these positions. Furthermore, the time retrenchments will take place, the severance pay that you'll be offering, as well as any employee assistance that will be offered to them, as well as future re-employment opportunities that could exist. Aan die ander kant het hulle ook 'n verantwoordelikheid om sekere inligting aan die vakbonde deur te gee. Die handboek gee dit ook daar vir jou op bladsy 110. Some of them they have to have proper and timeous negotiation process going on. Jy moet met jou vakbonde hieroor negotiate met hulle gesels oor dat hulle kan weet want dit affekteer hulle lede. Negotiation must take place, alternatives to retrenchment must be discussed with them. Management must be able to explain the fairness and which method they're going to use to retrench these workers. Hulle moet ook sê wat is die severance pay. Organisations also need to consider alternatives to retrenchment. En dit is een van die dinge wat ook met jou vakbonde en ook met jou werknemers bespreek gaan moet word. And as a business, you must really try your utmost best to do everything else possible before considering retrenchments, want die impak daarvan is soveel groter as wat 'n mens besef. Nou van hierdie alternatiewe word aan die onderkant van bladsy 110 bespreek. Een daarvan is die freeze van werwing. So instead of hiring new people, just freeze them and try and utilize your own staff at the moment. You can request older workers to go on early retirement, and you can also offer voluntary retrenchment packages to workers who have an alternative source of income. Mens kan ook kyk om jou normale dissiplinêre roetes deur te voer om te kyk of daar mense is wat moontlik afgedank moet word, and you can follow the procedure there of course to make sure it is procedurally and substantively fair. There can be the retraining of workers to fill gaps. So in plaas van om nuwe mense aan te stel of mense af te lê, geef hulle opleiding sodat hulle 'n ander pos kan kry of 'n alternatiewe werk kan doen binne die besigheid. We can also stop making use of temporary workers or casual workers om seker te maak dat jou huidige permanente werkers steeds hulle werk kan behou en steeds 'n inkomste kan verdien. We can also do layoffs of seasonal workers. So as jy weet jy het in 'n spesifieke tydperk meer temps of meer kontrakwerkers wat daar is vir seisonale produkte, kan jy dit ook ophou mee. You can reduce the number of shifts sodat jou werkers genoeg werk het om nog steeds 'n inkomste te kan verdien. And then you can put a stop to subcontracting, where you contract certain jobs out to an external service provider. Management can then also furthermore try to reduce costs by reducing the overtime, so hulle kan oortyd begin sny, and they can let employees work short time. So in plaas van dat jy werk van 8 tot 5, kan hulle sê, okay, maar hierdie groep werk van 8 tot 1 en die ander groep werk van 1 tot 5. So yes, they'll get reduced income, but they'll still have an income that they can depend on tot en met die besigheid begin herstel. Okay. So dit is aan die einde van hierdie spesifieke video. In the next video, we'll start looking at discipline and the disciplinary procedure. Until then, let's talk then. Bye!